All right, my friends, in this video, it's all about the Mini. We are checking out the Mihogo Mini E-Bike, right? We'll go through some specs, take a look at this e-bike. That's what we're doing. All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Gene Arnold. So like I just said, in this video, we're gonna be checking out the Mihogo Mini E-Bike. This is a new release. They just came out with this bike. They sent it over for me to review, and that's what I'm gonna do for you. All right, we're gonna take a look at a real quick build of the bike. It won't take long, you'll see. We kind of just blow through that fast. We'll go through some of the specs of the bike, and obviously we'll take it out for a ride and we'll cover all of that. So here's the deal. If information like this is interesting to you, do me a favor, give this video a thumbs up, right? Give it a like, maybe share it with some of your friends. And if you want to keep up to date with all the information that I'm coming out with, think about subscribing to the channel and maybe even checking off that bell. So with all that being said, folks, let's just jump right into the video. I got a lot to go over, and let's start talking about this e-bike. So I guess the first thing we'll need to do is do a little bit of an unboxing and build. This isn't going to take long. Actually, we're going to kind of blow through this pretty quick because, as you see right here, the bike comes almost entirely assembled out of the box. You really don't have a whole lot to do when it comes to putting this bike together. So what I ended up doing was I brought out a mat so I could work on the bike, and I just, well, you'll see right here, I just put the fork on the mat. This way I didn't want to break anything. The most complicated part to this build is attaching the front tire. I did it once, and then you'll see later on I had to take it off and tweak it a little bit because it needed to be adjusted. But really, all you're doing is unwrapping it, cutting off the little tie wraps, taking off some of the foam. You do have to attach the handlebars to the stem. All the tools are provided. Really, I mean, there's not much to talk about when it comes to this build because you don't have to do much. The hardest part definitely is putting the front tire on this bike. Just follow the instructions. I had messed up with the way the bolt and the washer lined up. I should have paid closer attention to the instructions. That's why I went back and had to adjust it. But there you go. I mean, you put the handlebars on. You can always do tweaks later on. So here you are. Here you can see me taking it off. I just didn't line the washer up correctly, and I realized it later on. So I had to take the front wheel off. I ended up adjusting the axle again. Looked at the instructions, put it back on, and I fixed it. That's the hardest part, right? After you have the front wheel on, you're really, I mean, kind of done when it comes to like the complex part of the build. You got to put on the seat. Right, you want to adjust that to the right height, but you'll be playing around with that later on. You got to put the pedals on, put the little pouch and the little center foam pad on, which I'll talk about later on. This build is a no-brainer, super easy to do. Now, clearly the concept of this bike is mini, right? How small it is and how easy it is to take around. So you can see how it looks when it's all with the handlebars down and the seat down, all compact and ready to put into your car. Here's a quick shot of what it looks like in my Outback. It fits right in your car so easily. And then once you get to your destination, you just flip up the handlebars. You'll want to lock them in. It's very easy to do. You lock up the top part, and there's a little plastic lock that spins around to lock that in tight. You want to bring your handlebars up to the height that you like, and same thing with the seat, and you're done, right? I mean, that's pretty much the concept of this bike. Mini, portable, easy to set up when you get to your destination. So now let's quickly talk about the bike, a few of its features, and then we can jump into the actual ride video. For stopping power, the bike comes with both front and rear disc brakes. The bike also comes with a set of pegs that can either go in the front or the back. I put them in the back of the bike. The higher end model that you see here comes with a color display that controls the speed of the bike, power on, power off lights, things like that. There's a really cool feature about this bike too, where you have this pouch that falls into the center of the bike and a seat cushion that can go on top. So you can have someone sit on that when you're riding around, and then you can just pop the cushion off and then put a bunch of stuff in the center of the bike. You'll also find a headlight on the front of the bike, and in the rear of the bike, there's a brake light that does go on when you apply the brakes on the bike. Last quick thing, the battery falls into the back of the bike. It is removable, so you can either charge it in the bike or you can pop it out and charge it inside of your home. So here's a quick fit test and give you an idea of what it looks like if you're sitting on the bike. I'm 5'7", and just kind of gives you an idea of how someone might fit on this bike. Again, 5'7", not really cramped. I mean, it's a little bike. It's called a Mini, but you definitely have enough room to sit on the bike and feel rather comfortable. All right, my friends, let's talk about how this bike rides. Obviously, the first thing you have to do is turn it on, right? Turn it on and put it on the speed you want. I put it on 5. And we get started. It does have a twist throttle, as you can see on the right hand side. So we'll twist that down and get things moving. So I'm going to talk about the pros and the cons of the bike, what I've learned while I was riding it. One thing you can see is it is a little bit more of a bumpier ride, and that's just because of the little bitty tires. I mean, the bike has small tires. They can only soak up so much. It does have a front suspension fork that does help with some of the bumps, right? But again, it can only do so much, and I'm not knocking on it. It's a mini bike. The purpose of this bike is easy transportation, folding it up and getting it around, and it does a phenomenal job at that. Now, something that I was pretty impressed about was the actual fit, right? Like how I felt when I was riding this bike. As I showed you earlier, right, you can see that I do fit on the bike, actually better than I thought. And it was a comfortable ride. Wow, the bike is completely silent. You don't even hear it moving. That's pretty impressive. And as you just heard me mention, I was actually very impressed with how quiet the motor was on this bike. Even when you had it fully pinned, it really didn't make a lot of noise at all. Again, it was pretty impressive how quiet a ride this bike has. Now it's this steering that kind of spooks me a little bit. Let's talk about the steering and the control of this bike. Look, I do have to say that this is not the kind of bike that I want to be riding on really, really bumpy roads, hitting potholes or gravel or anything like that. Because of the design of the bike and how small it is made, it's not a very slack handlebar setup, right? I mean, you are right up and down, straight up, and that makes for a very twitchy ride. Okay, the geometry of the bike makes it for a bit of a twitchy ride. And you definitely feel that, right? I mean, I did not feel comfortable flying down hills. I definitely used the brakes and took it easy. So you just saw me take my hand off the handlebars. I did not do that often. It was always 2 hands on the bars. It's definitely a twitchy ride. This is going to be a great bike for going to the shore, right? Great commuter bike to use in the city. But I don't like it for going up or down hills all that much. We'll talk about the motor power in a little while when it comes to going up hills. But definitely not flying down hills. I wouldn't want to hit a pothole with this thing. And again, gravel, things like that. I was just extra careful when I was riding the bike. Now, I think you have to remember that I was lucky enough to review the NX model, which is a killer bike. This bike has quite a bit of power, big knobby bouncy wheels, just super easy to ride. So I don't want to say I'm comparing the bikes against each other because they're not the same type of bike, but it is kind of hard to get off the NX and go on the Mini and not at least notice the difference between the two e-bikes. So wrapping up the riding portion of this video, definitely a cool bike, upright, incredibly easy to get around, so small, so easy to steer around things. It would be great to get around obstacles in the city and things like that. But what I want to do right now is take you to a wrap up and just kind of wrap things up. So cool, let's wrap this video up. You learned a lot about this e-bike, but I want to kind of put some things into context real quick and again, kind of sum up everything. I enjoyed this e-bike. You know, it's a pretty cool little e-bike, but it's definitely specific, or rather designed for some specific use cases. Because of the design and the way it is, you know, it's pretty small with those little bitty wheels and the way it's very, you know, you're kind of like right over the bars. As I mentioned in the ride section, I kind of had a bit of a twitchy feel when I was moving around in this. This is not the kind of bike I want to ride off-road on. Not looking for big potholes and loose gravel and things. I mean, you can ride on gravel, but you see what I'm saying? You want to stick to things like flat terrain, streets. Might be great to take with you on a camping trip because you're just going to kind of maybe move around through the campsite. It's great because it's so easy to take with you. It's so small to pack up. I told my daughter this is going to be the bike she'll take with her to the shore, right? Great bike for the shore. It's all flat, take it back and forth to the boardwalk. Easy to get inside of the hotel room because it's so easy to pack up. Would also be a great bike for anyone that lives in the city and has to commute. Specifically because of how small it is and how easily it packs up. You could just bring this right into the office and leave it right next to your desk. It wouldn't be a big deal. And obviously, if you live in the city, you probably have a pretty small apartment. This is going to fit in the apartment really good. I did compare this to the NX a couple times in the video. I'll put up a quick picture of what it looks like side by side. Even though the NX does fold up, it doesn't fold up as easy as this does. So if you're thinking about a bike that you want to fold up like a lot, right, because of where you live and how you want to use it, this is the one. All right. Now, all that being said, again, I want to make sure I position this bike correctly for you. This is not the bike for hills. All right. It's got a pretty small motor in the back over there. It's not going to take you up hills. You know, gradual inclines, you're cool. Again, you can use it in the city, things like that. But I live in the country over here, and I'm also comparing it to the NX, which is an awesome e-bike. I totally love that e-bike. It's got so much power, you know, bigger, bouncier wheels, makes it a little bit more comfortable and a little more stable. So I'm taking that experience and comparing it with this experience, kind of tough. All right, so this bike, the motor is not quite as powerful, but it'll certainly get you around without any problem at all. Really liked, like I said, the compartment over here and how that seat pops there. You can take these pegs and move them from the back to the front. One of the things they were showing is you can have like a little kid sitting there with their feet on the pegs or, you know, mess around with it. It's got lots of accessories for it too, baskets and things like that. Look, all in all, it is a really pretty cool e-bike, but it is certainly specific, and I just want you to always be happy with whatever you purchase, okay? So I'll tell you what, if you got any questions about this, put them down in the comments below, and I'll be happy to get back to you and do the best I can to answer those questions. Other than that, my friends, I really do hope you enjoyed this video. Please, you know, again, give it a thumbs up, share it with some of your friends, and I guess I'm going to catch you in the next one. Have a good time.